What's going on, everybody? Dan Tom here with MMA Junkie Line Movement, and this is on my channel, so it's going to go on the Protect Your Neck podcast, which you can subscribe to an Apple Podcast. Going to do the obligatory walk and talk as people start to pile in here. You can put your questions in the chat. UFC 254 just ended. That's what we're going to be talking about and recapping here. So I'm going to give a quick share, and we'll be on our way here. Just like I do with the Protect Your Neck podcast breakdown editions, I usually go from top to bottom. So that's what I'll do here. I'll recap the results from top to bottom. No crazy victory lap in here, anything like that. It'll go kind of as long as you guys want to, and as long as you guys want to chat or have any questions, which you can always put in the side. Otherwise, yeah, I'm going to steadily work my way from top to bottom. I just saw who got the bonuses, so we'll be able to talk about that. We'll be able to talk about Khabib's retirement. Anything else you guys want to talk about outside or inside the results of the fight? So I share my age trying to share this video link here. Yeah, see that? You hear that? It's awful, folks. There we go. Hopefully you guys are doing well. It's kind of weird on the time zones. It's daytime, so I'm just kind of loaded up on coffee and ready to go and need somewhere to put this energy. So yeah, I'm gonna add this tweet and we'll be ready to go here. Go on and pile in. All right. Sorry for spamming your feeds with this stuff. I'm the worst, but I'm the worst at promoting myself, but you know, I do it sometimes, so apologies for that. Good shared. All right. All right, let's do this. All right, what's up, guys? Again, Dan Tom here. The Protect Your Neck podcast, going to recap from top to bottom. Feel free to dump any of your thoughts, questions, whatever you want in the chat. We're going to work from top to bottom here. I don't really watch much of the post events. I remember like back in the day, like always had to watch weigh-ins live, look at the photos at MMAJunkie.com, and like watch all the post-fight things. I don't know if it's like since the the Fox era of upping shows, the Reebok era, or just this overdrive era of shows like, or the day after weigh-ins. All these kind of things kind of took those rituals out for me. So if you guys are watching that and anything drops big that you think I should know or want me to talk about, feel free to drop that in there in the chat as I say that. I know I just opened the door to be trolled with some hashtag fake news, right? It's okay. Careful. If it's on the prompter, Burgundy will read it. Of course, Khabib Nurmagomedov defeated Justin Gaethje in the second round, which, he seemed like he knew what he wanted to do in there. Second round submission, technical submission, is it nonetheless, because he went out. Let's see how they wrote it up there. Of course, sure. I want to badmouth anybody, but certain places are a little late with that. Yep. No, just lists as a triangle choke. Round 2, 134 of round 2. So yeah, fight went 6 minutes and 34 seconds total. I picked Nurmagomedov, but I'm going to be a bit later. I thought Justin's first layer of defensive footwork was going to pose a bit more problems. We saw glimpses of that real early, but boy, did it fade fast. It was really beautiful. Shouts to the coach Eric Nixick, who joined us on the Line Movement MMA betting show earlier this week, where he was explaining to me and my co-host Dan that, as far as Khabib striking, it's somewhere in the middle. And he explained it the best, because some people overrate it, some people underrate it. Which one is it going to be? And it really, he just plays off the level changes, as simple as it sounds, but Eric was really spot on. It could be perhaps a reason why, Gaethje and Poirier looked quote unquote bad. Not that they would have won the fights, but I do think it's fair to say, without crying over spilt milk and falling into that territory, that, it is woulda, shoulda, coulda territory. But yeah, you would have liked to have seen this, or maybe a little more of that, even in a losing effort, right? And I think a lot of that is the pressure from Khabib. He was going to be able to push Khabib back. All iterations of Khabib is always seceded space. And Gaethje, even against the most voracious pressure fighters like a Tony Ferguson, has been able to get those guys to step back. So that wasn't a surprise early, but it was going to be trouble if Khabib didn't fixed it. And that's why I kind of use the Edson Barbosa parallel. And, again, people are like, Barbosa sucks or whatever, which is not true, but just that's the Gen Pop reaction. He's a 45er now who Gaethje knocked out. Like, that's not the point. That's not how the math works. Not that I subscribe to the MMA math, but more so a kicking threat as far as that parallel or parity that Barbosa offered. The kicking threat was going to force Khabib's pressure game, and we saw kind of the best Khabib for it up until tonight, right? And so if I will give myself credit on anything, I guess, which I cringe even saying that, is the fact that I did compare that fight, and it brought out an even better performance of Khabib. His best performance to date and ever, because he retired now, I guess, because as soon as those kicks and you saw him reacting, Khabib's got a great poker face, chick, almighty chick me. But he's got a good poker face, but those kicks were bothering him, and as soon as they started landing, that's when the pressure and the more fluidity of the game started working for Khabib. And even when he could get takedowns, and it was after he briefly scored the first, you almost saw Khabib grinning, like he knew that the pressure was forcing Gaethje backwards. The pressure was forcing Gaethje to tire, forcing Gaethje to use energy in ways he's not supposed to. And when you're tense, using energy, that's when your striking looks bad, And Gaethje's not a bad striker, obviously. He knows how to strike. But back to Eric Nixick's point, who beautifully broke it down, it was the level-changing threat that brought about the striking success and confidence. So, that kind of closes the book on where Khabib's at, man. I have no issue with saying he is a number one pound for pound. James Young in the chat says, paid in full, my Ninja Turtles. Thank you, James Young. I believe I saw you on Twitter as well. And thank you, those of you, for the kind messages. I'm just glad you were able to cash. I was able to help. Great. Thank you. That's all on you, though. I'm just trying to serve as a reference here, a free reference here at the Protect Your Neck podcast. So give the video a like if you haven't. Hit the subscribe button. You're really helping me. And if you're listening to the audio version of this later on, which will go up later, so if you're listening to this a day later or so, thank you. And, give me a 5-star rating and review if you're listening on the old Apple podcast. James Young also says, Khabib has pressure. Oh my gosh, I'm going to ruin this line because my screen cut it off, and I know it's comical here. He says, Khabib has pressure like an Asian childhood. James, yeah, I know you know all about that, my friend, and so do I. Yeah, immediately you can hear Justin just hearing, his father in the corner, you better get good grades. You know what's going to happen. Shout out to my Asians and brothers and sisters who understand that. James Young also says, unfair for Justin to have to fight an eagle. If I were a bald eagle, Karens would go nuts. All right, James Young. What time in the world is it? Shout out to also everyone over in Europe, in that part of the world who usually has to watch fights at a crappy time. It's pretty cool. You guys didn't have to slug it out too much. You got some prime time viewing. Even though I woke up a bit early for this show. Shout out to Aaron Bronstetter. It's all good. I didn't mind the morning show too much. So if you guys, any of my West Coast or just, North American brothers and sisters, hit me up in the chat. Let me know what you guys thought of the earlier fights. Daniel May says 4 a.m. Sunday started in New Zealand was a little rough. Yeah, man, you know what? That is a little rough. Although 4 a.m. is about when I woke up because for whatever reason I woke up early on top of being early. So I'm all over the place today. Yeah, man. I don't know. What's the weather like in New Zealand right now? I can never tell. Does it matter? Does what part of New Zealand you're at or what? I don't really know if the time of year necessarily dictates that over there. Would love to go. But yeah, that first round was a beautiful striking presentation. Closed it for me. Saw some scorecards posted that people had issues with, which makes me believe that maybe judges scored it for Gaethje. I don't know. You guys can let me know in the chat there. Either way, it doesn't matter. The decision was in the books. My man Jason Herzog was late on seeing the tap. I don't know what he saw that made him second guess himself because obviously he should have saw it, but it looked like he saw it on top of it. And then I don't know if it was something made him second guess himself. And it's well, it's a championship fight, let it go. But yeah, thankfully, it was just a blood choke. Gaethje was back up and showing all class after Khabib hit that takedown, which I believe was a level-changing reactive shot. Not that Khabib hasn't tossed those out there. They're just not his most high percentage things. He usually uses it to grab something and steer to the fence. And even though the evidence, like I still defended, with giving credit, still defending my take on it. I did bring up Benny Abs from the Fixed Fight podcast, so I got to give Benjamin there a big shout because he was talking, he was screaming off top of his lungs. Khabib doesn't need the fence. Sure enough, he finishes without really needing the fence, or at least get the takedown to the mount position. So shout out and check out that podcast. And yeah, so I'll talk just real quick on something too. I've been a bit tough as far as like the all-time great talk because I'm such a fan of history and meaning. And that's why even though BJ Penn fell off a cliff in many ways for the past decade, indefensible ways, right? However, this body of work still stands, in my opinion, when you look at, the UFC trying and failing 3 times, being the 4th time being the charm with BJ. And you look at the times previously, like UFC 33, which ended up being one of their worst shows. You got the cameraman trying to give verbal cues to Dave Navarro and was it Carmen Electra? And like Carmen's like, "What are you trying to tell us to say?" And like, it was like awful. Like they got caught essentially trying to coax promos, right? And the fight was a bust. It was Hallman and Pulver, and I believe they still called it the bantamweight division, even though it was 155. And you just look at that, so like UFC 84, you've got, BJ Penn fighting for, again, it's kind of one of these situations where the champ never lost. You got the dominant wrestling champ. Well, he lost it due to, schmeroids, Sean Shirk. But you know what I'm saying? You're the dominant wrestling champ who never lost it in the octagon. And then you've got, BJ who beat Joe Stevenson. And, you've got guys like Jason Statham, and when the camera goes to him, he could just be cheering and enjoy his placard. But he, on his own accord, goes, BJ Penn. You got The Rock, who was huge then and is just nothing but huge now. Like everyone's like, oh, he's there to wear the BMF. Like, dude, it's the first one the UFC The Rock was at was UFC 84 for BJ Penn to go backstage personally to meet him. So these things factor in as far as taking the sport to a new level. He wasn't one of the top earners, but he was always good for that 400K pay-per-view buy, which you look in this era and where things have migrated and the content has migrated, I still think that ages well. That being said, even though historical stuff, still might not match up in the same way, when you just look at dominance, pound for pound fighters, which I have no issue with Khabib Nurmagomedov retiring as the pound for pound great. The only person that would contest that is GSP, not John Jones, because of the tests, the positive tests. That's just a fact, folks. I'm not a John Jones hater. I've picked him. I've given him credit in pound for pound, light heavyweight all time. I've always been one that probably gives him more credit. So I'm not being a hater here with that. When I say GSP is the only other person that could lay claim to that throne. Sadly, we won't get to see that fight in a perfect world, but I totally respect Khabib abiding by his mother's wishes and honoring his father, man. He didn't have to get to the 30, to honor his father. Like he could have lost tonight and already honored his father. And the fact that this guy went undefeated, truly, I know we always talk about the Abel Trujillo fight. I'm definitely someone who brings it up, but the fact is Khabib won, man. And yeah, James Young, Kanye West on JRE. Now, do you watching it soon? No, man. I don't know. I'm not a Kanye West fan. I don't know if I'm going to lose fans by saying that, but like, I've never been a fan. Like, I felt like it was like a lot of people who were trying to be smart and trying to be into hip hop or look smart or cool by being into hip hop saying, oh, Kanye's so brilliant. And I'm like, I don't see it. And this is before the Kanye quote unquote Kanye going crazy stuff. And then here when he teamed up with Elon Musk, I thought they just need to be sponsored by In-N-Out Burger, because in all facets of life, all the history timeline, all top fives, anything, top 3 most overrated anything in life is Elon Musk, In-N-Out Burger, and Kanye West. I'm sorry. So it was almost like a perfect pairing. I'm not going to go on a rant here. Don't worry, folks. Definitely not going political. Just not a fan of Kanye West. But I'm sure that was an S show on the JRE with Kanye. Look at you getting me to talk about Kanye. Daniel May says, Gaethje round 1 doesn't seem that crazy. He landed some big shots. And if you're following the criteria to the letter of pressure and takedown, wouldn't have scored. So Gaethje round 1 doesn't seem. Crazy there. Yeah, he did land some big shots, and yeah, I mean, I'll have to rewatch it. I'm not gonna put my heel in the ground, Mr. Mays. Um, I rewatched plenty and rethought before, but yeah, we'll have to see on that. Daniel Mays also adds Kanye and Joe sounds like a dumpster fire. His words, not mine. He'll just be spouting nonsense with Joe going along with all of it. Yeah, man, I haven't tuned into much of the new JRE, to be honest. I was on Adam Curry. I watched, or I was on. I watched. It's actually on a similar podcast with Adam Curry, the same season as him. So watch out for that. But aside from that episode, I haven't really seen much of Joe's new stuff, to be honest. Uh, James Young, shots fired. Love the honesty. I'm sorry, yeah, for better or worse, mainly worse. You get honesty with me, folks. Unfortunately, Robert McKenna has entered the chat. He says, "Does Whitaker have anything for Izzy?" I'm a Bobby Knuckles stan, but I feel it goes the same again. Yeah, man. I believe another one of my normal Twitter folk jumped in and of the excitement of Robert Whitaker's. We're going to move on to that fight now to the co-main event. Of course, we're talking about, folks, when I'm talking with Robert McKenna here, we're talking about Robert Whitaker, who defeated Jared Cannonier via unanimous decision. I'm not sure if there's 29-28s in there. I wouldn't have minded if there was. I personally went 30-27 that first round. Cannonier was definitely scoring leg kicks. I'm a fan of leg kicks, even though Whitaker wore them well. Didn't show damage or much visual damage, aside from a bit of his swelling. It wasn't enough for me. I'm more of a big fan of overall body of work than I am of a single moment. So he was going to need bigger moments than that. Plus, not just overall body of work, but you could really see that when I say overall, it was a variety over different places, and Whitaker was able to use those different places to key off, so he wasn't just thinking about getting countered with the jab to leg kick ratio from Cannonier. And you could see him taking the initiative better by mid-round, carrying it to the end of the round, although Cannonier at the end of round 1 and round 3 had some really strong moments. So, I mean, again, I wouldn't hate a 29-28 Cannonier if you want to give him that burst. But I still went 30-27 Reaper. And as I said, and no disrespect to Izzy or Cannonier, but Izzy was calling Cannonier the dark horse. And boy, did the Reaper serve him up like he was cooking for the Ream. You know what I'm saying? That was some classic Bobby Knuckles. Again, I said you got to be a pinpoint counter striker to really take advantage of Bobby Knuckles, according to the history, for what the facts have shown. When it's athletic forward movers, he tends to beat those guys. Now, in defense, I don't know if it was my man Wesley Colvin, shout to him. He tweeted this, and I agreed, where it was just like, where was this kind of the whole time, in the sense of that forward pressure? It's kind of Cannonier style. A, B, it's what he needed to beat the Reaper. C, it's what Cannonier was advertising he was going to do. So to, I guess, D, come late to the party with it, really has been frustrating for Cannonier better. So my heart's definitely out there with you there. I'm just more happy because I'm a fan of Robert Whitaker and a stan of Robert Whitaker, if you want to be. So just like my man Robert McKenna here. So that's why I was happy. Although I'm not going to lie, I may or may not, when I saw certain peeps jinxing certain lines, I may or may not have just jumped on the Bobby Whitaker train. Also, because I did pretty well making my money earlier on in the night with the chalk. It was, I don't even feel like I can brag for going 10-1-1 overall, having a pretty good night, because I feel like a lot of people did, and it was chalky. So, not really too big on victory laps in general, especially off of chalk. But I was happy for Robert Whitaker, and hearts out to the Cannonier bettors. It's almost worse, I would say, like when the guy you bet on, like if he's going to lose, it's like, just lose already. Why do you got to give me hope? It's like that gift, don't give me hope. So I completely sentiment with my man there on that tweet. Before we move on, Daniel May says, this made me more confident Whitaker's problem is feinters who fight long. That's definitely a big problem as well. Yeah, credence to that. DC, Mays continues, DC's narrative about Whitaker looking improved was weird. This was like every other great Whitaker performance. Although I will cut DC some slack there, in the sense of I think he was talking more directly of Whitaker's last performance, which is, I get, and is forgivable. However, I saw a lot of people coming at the commentary. I love the commentary and everybody on there. so I don't want to pile on. But yeah, there, as far as the one thing I did disagree with the commentary was how they were calling certain fights. And again, they can't score, nor are they trying to score, so you got to cut them slack on that, folks. But let's just say I did hear y'all as far as the narratives, perhaps going opposite on what many of us thought. And again, it's a different point of view. They arguably have a better view than all of us. They're right there watching the action. So I really try to give benefit of the doubt and cut them slack because they're trying to do a really hard job at the same time. But I hear you. I hear you. All right. And aside from that, Whitaker used some of his wrestling, got around, shucked around to the back pretty well, pretty nicely there. I like that he's mixing these threats in, if nothing else, just to get reactions from it. And we'll talk about John Crouch and his cornering because you can hate on him all you want, but boy, did it help his fighter lower down on the card. Albeit, I wasn't buying the celebratory win at the end of this. The rightful winner is Whitaker. As I take a sip of water, I'm going to balance out the coffee. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Feel free to jump in, leave some comments, questions. We're going to move down to the next fight, which was the one I got wrong this card, which I kind of called. I was going to get wrong before it. Alexander Volkov defeats Walt Harris via TKO, kick to the body and punches, second round, 115. Yeah, man, it was man. Yeah, it was that was tough. Again, admitted bias picking Walt there, plus a heavyweight fight, which is why even though it was the only official dog pick that closes a dog, I think actually officially in my defense, I picked 4 dogs here. It's not like I picked all chalk. It's just the money's been pretty sharp and smart and came in fast. Flipping lines minus the Harris line for a reason. So congrats on y'all that got a decent point of entry and were able to cash on Volkov, underplays, etc. I got to check that. I think I did well there. I admittedly, so I stayed away. So I didn't put it in my play sheet. I wasn't telling anybody to go bet it. On the podcast, I did end up sprinkling really small on Harris. One, because it was somewhat of a hedge, as well as so I didn't feel bad because shout out to my bookie. Maybe if what do you call? I forgot what I was going to say. But shout out to my bookie. They do these. I haven't seen any other books do it, so I don't want to misquote anybody here. So I'll just stick it up. They do like some kind of like last minute deals, and it's sharp. They're just trying to get people to like kind of last minute shop on their way out the aisle, and they'll throw in like these parlay deals, and they offer Volkov and Khabib at plus 160 as a 2-leg. And I was like, holy crap! I have a feeling I'm going to lose this fight. Lose this Volkov pick. And even though I wasn't like super high on Khabib and stayed away from the chalk outside of my, for fun main card parlay, which crashed. And that was like for fun, low amount. So all good. I was like, that's really tempting. So I took it, but I'm like, I can't take this and not play my pick, especially if it's a guy like Harris, right? Who I am rooting for and I feel bad for. But I thought that was a pretty good deal, right? Volkov and Khabib plus 260. So glad I jumped on that. Thank you, my bookie. And yeah, man, that was tough. But, those measured body kicks and, Harris just couldn't find his range. Got uncomfortable. And, Volkov was on point. Volkov looking thick, too. I mean, a lot of talk about his tattoo. But Volkov looking thick, and I'm not trying to assume or throw shit, nothing like that. I'm just saying what I saw. I don't know. You guys let me know what you thought. Daniel May says he thought Volkov gaining 30 pounds and still having best heavyweight cardio is so unfair. I know. I'm looking at him and I'm like, dude, Harris is like got himself in like the best shape of his career and still tips the scales at 254. The man is a giant at 6'5" with like some of the broadest shoulders I've ever seen. And he looks so small compared to Volkov, who now is like, he's getting the thickness in there. So speaking of thickness, can't wait to drop this. I don't know if I can't wait or I'm scared to drop this top 5 with my man Ben from the Fight Site. That's going to come on my vacation week. Plug for that. James Lawson says, keep up the good work, Dan. I'm going to bookmark this and watch it later, so apologies if you've already mentioned this. But Khabib is the GOAT conversation, top 5, top 3. Good news for you, James. Thank you for stopping in, even with everything going on. Appreciate the compliment. And if you're listening this far, hopefully you go back or are listening in the future, and you've already heard me cover that. And yeah, I give him the top spot. Active guys for sure, and all time. He's got to compete with GSP, obviously. But yeah, active guys for sure. And again, like I explained, no shade to John Jones there. And I even put him right up there right up there at the top with beloved BJ Penn, pre 2009 BJ Penn. Let's just say, even as far as that goes for the lightweight division, because he is firmly ahead of that and front facing in that Mount Rushmore lineup for the lightweight division, right? Ooh, that's a great one. I almost don't want to tackle that. I feel like that's the Gorgeous George and Goes. Shout out to them. That's their thing, the Mount Rushmore. But Mount Rushmore, the lightweight division. Feel free to hit me before this chat's up, guys. I'll read it in the chat. Hit me up with your Mount Rushmore. That's four. If you're not familiar or if you're not American, that's four names for historical, all that stuff. You'd sneak in a Japanese fighter if you read my mind there. If you catch my drip, if you like. What's your Mount Rushmore for the lightweight division? As I press on, already going on a bit long here. Phil Haas defeated Jacob Malkoun KO. That was, I think I only had him in one for fun parlay, but he closed it off, and I didn't expect to cash that one, so that was nice. Good on Phil Haas. Lauren Murphy, lucky Lauren, defeated Lilia Shakirova, submission rear naked choke. So I don't know if I put to layer Lauren Murphy with the Casey Kenny Magomed Ankalaev parlay that cashed that I put in Line Movement, and shout out to the Protecting podcast listeners. You'll cast on that plus money parlay, but Lauren Murphy was like the second up at bat right there. So I layered her in and also hedged her with an outside parlay that avoided the whole because I knew Kenny was going to be a sweat. I ain't fronting, folks. I got lucky. So I kind of worked and strategized around that too. And Lauren Murphy, the price, not only did it not go up, it actually kind of came back down, perhaps because of the wrestling and the part of the world Shakirova comes from. But like this was one of the few fights that I actually taped pretty decently, like I said on the podcast. And Shakirova's got good wrestling, but her size, she looked small for the division, which she was, and she was going against a bigger, stronger person, which she did. B, if she can get the takedown, she's not going to be able to get any control, which we saw that. And B, her jiu-jitsu, which is what ultimately tipped me, was not impressive. And Lauren Murphy, as I've been saying in this recent run she's been on, underrated grappling, which she proved right there. Not trying to victory lap, just saying. I did say these things. So hopefully you guys acted accordingly, and lucky Lauren did you well too. Happy for her, first and foremost, most importantly. She is the deserved number one contender. She put it on the line like the last number one contender did, except she came out and made an emphatic statement, treated her last minute opposition accordingly. So for that reason, I'm okay, with her getting the next shot. But am I excited for someone facing Valentina? No, you guys know I'm a fan of Valentina, and think she's a pretty good fighter there. However, I will say Lauren Murphy, one of the few fighters in that division that can match her physicality, and I will say that much. And I feel you do have to at least give her that much credit. So good on Lauren. Let's see where the UFC takes it. Next fight. I'll go over bonuses at the end here. Magomed Ankalaev defeated Iwan Cutelaba at the very end of round one, 4:19 at least, close to the end. Punches. Yeah, man. Cutelaba. Is light heavyweight like the home of the funniest knockouts, like of all divisions? Like between Kadis Ibragimov and like all these guys, because it's like you've got like the trudginess and the randomness and the levels, let's just say, the heavyweight division. But you've got that athletic frame, a lot lighter of a frame and a lot more of an athletic umph of an engine underneath that frame to fuel these kind of funny KOs, right? Like I used to say, like, and by the way, any of these guys hit me, it would not be funny. Believe me, not get it twisted, obviously. I'm just saying, like, I used to be, as if you can't tell that I'm a nerd already. I used to be in a Counter-Strike, your boy here back in the day. And I used to have one of my keybinds. buying the buy keys. But one of my binds, when you can actually like get in the console and mess around and hack into these games is I would make sure I could just hit one key and I would do an immediate 180 so you could just like shoot the person behind you. And it looked like when Cute Laba got knocked down the first time, like he accidentally hit the key and just ended up like turned around. And you could see it in his eyes. He was like, "How did I end up here?" And then he had to turn around and keep fighting. I don't know why. I try not to laugh at knockouts. I hope Yvonne's okay. But that was pretty funny. And Dagestani Stipe cashed one leg of the parlay. And shouts to Eric Nixick for the inside intel over at Extreme Couture as far as him doing well in the mats there. Check the chat here. Daniel Mays says, ref made sure E1 was dead before he stepped in. Yeah, man. It's like, did he know what he was watching coming in? Was he trying to make a point there or what? But yeah, E1 really vents down pretty and then got the nail in the coffin there. Tai Tuivasa defeated Stefan Struve via KO punches. I got to see the tally. I don't know if I beat Keith Krikorian. 10th Planet Black Belt in the pick contest. Shout out to the Verbal Tap podcast who facilitated that. I think I'm going to go on there tomorrow. I got to hit those guys up. We'll see what's up. But if I lost, I have to eat 15 chicken nuggets, which is probably more doable, as you can tell, compared to athletic old Keith having to eat. I'm going to lower it to 15 tacos because I think I won. But we'll see. I know we were opposite on this one, so thank you, Tai Tuivasa, for winning that. I wasn't confident in Tai, to be honest, and I missed the window on plus money that was tempting me. However, to see that the under, and I've usually been an over guy. I'm like an anti-under guy. I'm always contrarian over guy usually, it feels like. But I've been playing a lot of unders lately. Not a lot, but a decent amount for me. And I've been doing pretty decent, with them. And this one hit, thankfully. Yeah, so that was some nice coverage there. Good on Tai to get back on track. Sucks for Stefan. That was a funny replay. I felt bad. Tai gets an extra bonus shot there as he climbed the cage. The sweater of sweats, but in my defense, did call that it was going to be a sweaty and called the tactics. Casey Kenny defeated Nathaniel Wood by unanimous decision, 29-28, 29-28, 30-27. I disagree with 30-27. There were some people who I respect on my timeline, like Keith Schillen, who always does great work. Follow Keith. Fantastic work Keith does. Love that guy. But he was saying that it was defensible to go rewatch it. So I'm definitely, again, I always reserve the right to go rewatch. You guys can let me know how you scored it. Also, feel free, again, hit me with your lightweight Mount Rushmore in the chat. I want to read those off by the end of this episode. But yeah, I gave it to Wood. I thought the momentum was shifting, and we had Kenny gassing. Like things caught up to him, travel, etc., which got me worried. But Kenny's a dog, man. He'll fight for your money, and he hasn't been stopped or submitted in pro-am career for a reason. He's not going to look for ways out when the fight's not going his way, win or lose. So instead, he looked for ways to win, made an adjustment, got a key takedown. I wish I couldn't go back fast enough to find that GIF or old tweet where I said that feeling when the fighter you bet on secures a back mount in the third round, and it's Denzel Washington doing like that. I totally had that moment, and I'm sure Casey Kenny bettors did. The first round was close. I just felt like Kenny landed the more emphatic shots. I would not have been mad if it went to Wood. And shout out to Zane Simon, who not only had it or picked it the same way, but he was one of the other persons that kind of broke this fight down and similar to me, where essentially not only does Kenny have a grappling edge, but not just to be so blunt or black and white with it, but we both kind of suspected, and it's not this fight doesn't even prove it, and it's nothing hardline on Nathaniel Wood's ceiling, which is high, and you should not be writing a kid like Nathaniel Wood off. He's super talented, but we both suspected that he really needs to have his grappling in gear, or at least the threat of it in play, for him to get the full use and full squeeze, to fully squeeze the juice, you know what I'm saying, of his skill sets. And you could argue that that's what ultimately cost him / became apparent as the fight closed out. Maybe not went on, because I thought he got round 2. So tough beat for any wood bettors out there, again, I'm not victory lapping without a conscience here. Definitely feel free because the fight could easily go in Wood's way. And I knew what I was getting into. So, there's that. All right, let's push on as the results here. Almost done. Shavkat Rakhmonov, Shave Cat, baby. Submission, round 1. Saw some interesting theories on Twitter about this fight. Shout out to Magic M on Twitter. But yeah, man, was it Kazakhstan? Showed a strong. This guy looks like he was a descendant of Khan, was he not? I mean, if I was joking with my man Brad Tastrick from the MMA Analysis podcast. Shout out to them and their old school regime this week. But I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe if Shavkat is a descendant of Khan, does that make him a illegitimate child? And if he's an illegitimate child, does that mean that Alex Oliveira knows exactly how to deal with him? I don't know. Jesus Christ. By the way, I was watching tape and I forget it was after like the kidnapping thing happened. And like John Gooden is so polite. I wish I could have him follow me around a room and just every time I curse or say something inappropriate, like just have him go, I'd like to apologize for the colorful language. But I believe he described Alex Oliveira's kidnapping child suit as like a family dispute, as he put it. Just like, and hey, who knows? When you have that many kids and that many ladies, like maybe he just took the kid back to the wrong house, and the baby's mom was just, you son of a, I'm not defending the guy. I'm just saying. Either way, hopefully he got paid. I don't know what Oliveira's contract looks like. He always comes to fight, so I don't think his job was jeopardized. And Shavkat shows that he's for real, man. Again, master of sports MMA, combat sambo champ. Good submissions. Can get submissions off of his back, which I believe I said don't be surprised if he does here. I ended up sprinkling on rounds 1 and 2 because I missed Shavkat at dog money. And I sprinkled it in a way where it didn't matter as long as one hit, even though there was better odds on round 2. I essentially I bet it, so I made the same amount, so it really didn't matter. So that was nice. And saw some people on the fight doesn't go the distance or the unders. And I believe you scored that too, so good on you if you were able to find angles to cash in that madhouse of a fight. All right. Let's go through more results here. After that, we had Da-Un Jung split draw with Sam Alvey. This was a fight where you really could have scored it anyways, which is one of those things that highlight the problems and pitfalls with our scoring systems in MMA. This is one where we could have had all competent judges and justifiably come up with all different scorecards. Therefore, and just the way I scored it, I do believe that the draw was the right outcome, which sucks for you out, and it hearts out to you Alvey bettors, by the way. Maybe not. I mean, I don't want to say not so much to the Jung bettors because I had Jung in a parlay, if I'm being honest, even though it was a small one. People I expect were on Jung. However, the reason why I only put Jung on one of my parlays, I feel like it's like, again, every card it's like usual suspects, and it's like, give me the keys to the car, you motherfucker. We got to figure out who's the bad one here, who's gonna bust the parlay of all the chalk. And maybe it was my soft spot for Smiling Sam. Maybe it was the fact that just with I don't know, something about the way Dong Jung and the look on his face, I could just see him just walking, doing a Marcin Prachniau and just walking straight into things. Team S, shout out. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know. This was one where people also had an issue with the commentary. I would have to go back and rewatch this because even though I was okay with the draw, with the fight being so close, if there was a gun in my head and I had to pick a winner, I probably would have landed with the quiet counters and overall body of work Jung was landing because, again, no matter how you score it, I'm not trying to die on the hill. I do feel that perhaps maybe – and again, it's not so much the commentary's job, although they can obviously involuntarily sway the gen pop. But it's not their job to score, so cut them some slack there. But yeah, I didn't agree with what was being called. I feel like not a lot of the stuff Jung was doing was being called, but it wasn't enough for me to be up in arms about it, I guess. But yeah, sympathies to bettors, but not really because, hey, at least it was a push, right? So hopefully y'all didn't lose out too much on that. Miranda Maverick beat Liana Jojua. I think I better just put a 20 spot randomly last minute on Maverick by sub for some nice plus money, like plus 275. Yeah, sure enough, despite having the health problems with the eyes, she just opts for a striking match and is able to get her out of there on the feet. Granted, it was a doctor stoppage between rounds, but I wasn't mad at it, even despite the bet. Not that I care about that kind of stuff, anyways. To be honest, just why you bet low, kids? But honestly, and I know it's the female thing, but I would have been just as uneasy and queasy if it were a male, for what that's worth. Now, you can disagree with me on those terms. That's completely fine. But hopefully you don't accuse me of doing being the sexist card, because I do agree that does exist in our world and in the sport. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that I didn't necessarily disagree with the stoppage for whatever that's worth. That's somebody who bet on a submission prop, which maybe we could have cashed if that fight were allowed to keep going. So lastly, but not leastly, Joel Alvarez defeated Alexander Thunder of the North, Yakovlev. If he was Thunder of the South, maybe I would have bet. Jesus, yeah. Well, either way, Yakovlev drops another fight, which is tough. What is that, like 2 in a row? Oh, he's coming off a win. Nope, 2 in a row. That's right. Roosevelt Roberts loses his first round armbar. Yeah, that was surprising. You consider, this guy's been in there, Damian Maia and other big names at welterweight. And this lightweight, who's on the come up in more ways than one. Boy, did Alvarez look big in there. And not in a suspicious way. I'm just saying, like, that could be a guy that goes up to welterweight. And as soon as he hit, I was like, man, I should have been on that. I felt like easier said than done. Minus 185 at close high. It was actually sitting lower for the majority of the week. So people, whether you were playing that straight or parlayed that or whatever, I was like, wow, it's nothing like when you hit an easy leg like that. So props to anybody who made money off that fight. All right, before we recap, let's go back over to the chat. Feel free to pop in your Mount Rushmore, 4 names of who you think should be in the Mount Rushmore lightweight. Did Khabib surpass finally BJ Penn in your eyes, or was he already there? As most of you will probably say yes, because you will look at record and recent body of work. Of course, I'm trying to incorporate all while giving history its due daps. Nevertheless, man, you got to give Khabib his due daps. He is the man. He is the best active pound for pound fighter. He's got an argument for all time, as well as pound for pound and lightweight. Hey, he didn't fight all in lightweight. A lot of those fights were catchweights, technically. But obviously, yeah, I mean, I get it. He didn't fight out of the weight class, but wouldn't have hated to see maybe that GSP fight. But hey, man, how many undefeated fighters been able to retire at MMA at a high level like this? It's tough, man. It's tough. So you really gotta give credit. And I know I picked against him before. I know I love to play contrarian Dan, although aptly so, and I backed it up with facts when I did in the past. Man, all credit, all hats off to Khabib as far as that goes. Again, not saying you got to be a fan of him as a fighter or as a person. Obviously, man, it's a fight game, right? I'm talking strictly as a fighter and his accomplishments, and trying to judge unbiasedly. I got to give him my credit. Off the top of my head, lightweight Mount Rushmore. It's hard because it's like I would put guys like Jim Miller because I'm a big Jim Miller fan, but that's not exactly how it works. Jens Pulver, the Godfather, man. Got to give credit to Jens Pulver, who was, fighting when lightweight was 170 in the UFC in those back in those days. And then when 155 was bantamweight, like I referenced earlier in the program. So you got to have Jens there, BJ, Khabib. And I'll go ahead and, I'm going to throw Gomi in, and maybe that's a little biased too. But Gomi's name meant something when I was coming into this sport. And yeah, man, I mean, I saw a lot of fighters come through, train on a regular basis at Extreme Couture. Not one, whether it's movie stars or fighters to get starstruck. I don't care. I'm there to do my business. My low self-esteem allows me to leave people alone. So it's not a big deal, but like Gomi was one of those dudes where he stepped into the gym and I was like, oh, that's talking more Gomi. Pride, his fight with Jens. Holy crap. Rumble on the Rock, his fight with BJ. So I feel like those are the names for Hall of Fame there as far as that goes. Just want to give another shout to the Verbal Tapcast at Verbal Tapcast for having me on. Follow my outlet, Line Movement, linemovement.com, at line_movement on Twitter. The MMA betting show that me and Dan Levy from the Half the Battle podcast, we do every week. We record on Wednesdays. It's out on Thursday. We recorded earlier this week. We had a guest this week, which really went well. Shout out to Coach Eric Nixick. His analysis all aged well. We're definitely going to have him back on. I'm going to have him on this program, and we're going to try to get more guests over there. So please help this channel, help that channel. Like the video if you haven't already. Again, give it the old subscribe, or if you're already subscribed to Apple Podcasts, give it the old 5-star ratings and review. Of course, you can all support this free content that's going to keep coming your way by going to the host website, mixedmartialanalyst.com. You can visit the Onnit and Amazon click-throughs. You click through just no clicks, just through no cost of a couple clicks, really. You support the podcast for free. As a small percentage of your purchase will go back to this program. I assure you it's used there. So we'll be back in Vegas, no Fight Island drop for the foreseeable future. I have a feeling, especially with the way COVID's going, we'll be back at Fight Island. So I'll probably have to save this bad, Batman 1 Joker / borderline Scarface backdrop here. I'm going to see you guys next week for the Hall Silva card. We'll be on vacation for the 2 weeks after that, but we'll have top 5 shows with, again, like I mentioned, Ben Kahn from the Fight Site for top 5 thick fighters. Also going to have Phil McKenzie from Heavy Hands. So we're figuring out a top 5 right now. Feel free to hit me up with those at Dan Tom MMA. Follow the podcast at the PYN Podcast on all social platforms. We won't spam your feed, but it sure helps a lot. And yeah, all right. Anything else in the chat? Nope. All right, guys. I don't want to take up any more time. I really appreciate for those of you who joined me on the YouTube channel, helping this thing grow. I really appreciate you guys, especially on these long stretches. Hopefully you all did well. And until next time, protect your neck.